My name is Ramesh Soni and I will briefly talk about MRP today. Materials requirement planning has been around for quite some time. Actually, the work began in the 60s, but it did not become popular until late 70s, early 80s when the computing power became cheaper, because MRP requires computer. It cannot be done by hand. MRP is geared towards creating a schedule of orders based on your end item. Of course, it assumes that you have dependent demand situation. So let me explain. If you are going to make 1,000 cars, you will need, for example, 1,000 steering wheels, you will need 4,000 tires, you will need 1,000 left door front, 1,000 right door on the front, and so on. So demand for doors, tires, steering wheel, car seats, etc., they depend on how many cars you will be making. So it is a dependent demand system. So MRP is most suitable when you have lumpy demand. That means demand occur in batches. So if you're making a bunch of tables today, you will need all the components that go into table. But if you're not going to make table for next 2 weeks, you will not need components for the table. You suppose you're making chairs now, you will need components that go into making the chair. So demands occur in lumps or batches. Number two, your demand is relatively long in terms of lead time, meaning you can't get the items right away. Items take maybe 3, 4, 5 days, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. So lead time has to be relatively long, not instantaneous. And dependent demand situation, which I already explained in the previous slide. Obviously, MRP hopes to schedule orders in such a way the items arrive just before they are going to be consumed. Therefore, it will reduce your inventory investment and make your operations very efficient and reducing throughput time and increase efficiencies. Now there are 5 elements of MRP, and they are master production schedule, bill of material, inventory status file, the main MRP computer program logic, and the output of MRP. So let me briefly talk about each one of them. Master production schedule is really a short range production plan. How many of these different end items you will be producing, how many of model A end item you will produce in week 3, week 5, week 6, week 7, and so on. How many items will you produce of a different product, end item, the finished item that you will be shipping out. So it's a short range production plan. That's the driver, that's the one which drives the whole MRP system, and I will explain that with a simple example later on. Bill of material is basically product tree structure. It describes what is the end item, what are their children, what are their grandchildren, components, subcomponents, subassemblies, and so on. Inventory status file, number 3, is basically an accurate record of all inventory items you have. What are the lead time for the item if you have to order or make? What is the quantity sitting on hand? Is there anything that has been scheduled to arrive? What is the safety stock for the item? Who is the vendor? What is the lot size that you must make or buy? Is there any quantity discount? What is the telephone number of the vendor? What is the unit price of each item, and so on. Those kinds of information is kept in the inventory status file, which is really a database. And MRP computer logic, and I will explain the logic with the help of an example. And finally, the output of MRP, which is the main output is order schedule. You're scheduling orders of each children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, each component, each assembly, etc., so that they arrive just when they are needed, and you are able to produce the end item as you have planned. The secondary output is, do you have to worry about anything? Is everything working okay? Is there any exception, something that needs to be expedited, and so on. So let's begin with a simple example. Here you are making a product A, that's the end item product, which is made up of two components. Again, we are keeping it very simple, B and a C. You need two B's and three C's to make an A. Okay, and notice level 0 is depicted for end item, that's level 0, and B and C are depicted as level 1. Please make sure that you understand that if we are doing it by hand, no item can belong to more than one level. That means you can't have B at level 1 as well as level 4 or level 3 or so on. No item can belong to more than one level. If that is the case, if the item belongs to you, may have to make adjustment. Let's keep it simple for the time being. Let's assume that no item will belong to more than one level. Alright, let's look at the inventory status file. I'm giving you only a part of the file which is relevant for the example right now on hand. Item A, you will notice, if you move across, you will notice it's level code 0. Lead time is given to you as 1 week. That means if you want to have certain item made, you must tell 1 week in advance to the shop floor to assemble. Right now you have 1000 of A sitting with you, out of which 400 is safety stock. Nothing has been allocated for any other use, and lot size, whenever you decide to make this item, you must make at least 1000. Beyond that, you can make whatever quantity you want. So for example, if you needed only 500 items, you must make 1000. But if you needed 1010 items, you can make 1010 items. Anything beyond 1000 plus, it will be lot for lot. Whatever quantity you need more than 1000, you can get it, you can make it. Now let's look at the second line, which is item code B. It's level 1. Lead time is given to you as 2 weeks. Right now on hand you have 200 items sitting with you. Out of that, 100 is safety stock and another 100 has been allocated for some other use. So effectively you have nothing sitting with you, unlike item A where you had 600 items available to you. Notice the lot size for this one is 350, not 350 plus. It says 350, and that simply means that you must order in multiples of 350. So if you need 351, you must order 700. If you needed 1000 items, you will have to order 3 boxes of 350. That means you will end up ordering 350 plus 350 plus 350, and that would be 1050. So you must order in multiples of 350. Item C, if you go across the line here, level code 1, lead time is given to you as 1 week. On hand you have 500 items sitting with you. Out of that, safety stock is 100, and 100 has been allocated for some other use. So effectively you have 500 minus 100 minus 100. That means 300 quantity sitting with you right now is available for use or whatever purpose you have. Lead time for this one is LFL, which stands for lot for lot. That simply means whatever quantities you need, you can buy. If you need 3, you can buy 3 items. If you need 300, you can buy 300. There's no restriction on the lot size. Notice one other information that I have provided in the inventory status file just below that. There is 350 units of B that has been already ordered. It's on its way and it will arrive in week 2. Now the information that you need is, what is your production plan? It looks like your master production plan tells you that you need 1000 units of A in week 4 and 2000 units of A in week 5. Okay, so keep this particular handout, this particular sheet. You will need to keep it handy so that you can constantly refer back to this information. and as we do the problem. All right, so let's begin this problem. You have item A, item B, and item C. For each item, you have 6 different things. You will notice it's called gross requirement, scheduled receipt, available, net requirement, planned order receipt, and planned order release. You have to fill out these information. So that I don't forget, I always fill out the scheduled receipt. That's something which I don't fill out at the very beginning. I might forget. So if you recall, there were 350 items have already been ordered, and they are on their way, and they should arrive in week 2 for item B. Now let's go back to item A, and the starting point for that is your master production schedule. If you remember, you need 1,000 items of A, 1,000 A in week 4 and 2,000 in week 5 for A. That's the finished good, that's the end item. Okay. Now there is no scheduled receipt for item A. The only scheduled receipt is for item B. There's nothing for C. So anyway, so let's get started. So let's figure out how much is available at this point right now for item A. If you recall, we said 600 items are sitting with you right now, and since you don't plan to use it in week 1, 2, or 3, it will be carried over until that point. And you will notice that in week 4 you need 1,000 items, out of which 600 is sitting with you already, which means you need only 400 more. Your net requirement is 400 more. Now the question is how many items you should plan to receive in week 4. Although you need only 400, the lot size for A is 1,000 plus, which means even though you need only 400, you should plan to receive 1,000 items at this point in time. So you must plan to receive 1,000 items in week 4, and for that to happen, you must place an order 1 week in advance. Remember, lead time for A is 1 week. You must place an order of 1,000 items a week in advance. Okay? You will notice that you again ended up with 600 extra in week 4 because you needed 400, you got 1,000. So you have 600 extra which will become available in week 5. And week 5, if you look at the calculation, you needed 2,000. You had 600 carried over from the past. You needed 1,400 more. And since it is more than 1,000, you can get 1,400. And for you to receive 1,400 of A in week 5, you must order 1,400 units of A in week 4. Now, demand for B and C will depend on how much you are telling them to make, because you're telling them to make 1,000 A and 1,400 A in have that available in week 4. Start making them and in week 3 and week 4 respectively. You must have enough components of enough B's and enough C's in those 2 weeks for B and C. All right, so let's see what we need to do. So do you agree that you need 2,000 B's and 3,000 C's in week 3 so that they can start assembling and have 1,000 items delivered? Similarly, you need 2,800 B's and 4,200 C's. Remember, for each A you need 2 B and 3 C's. So 1,400, if you're asking them to make 1,400 A's, you must have 2,800 B's and 4,200 C's available. 2 times 1,400 is 2,800, and 3 times 1,400 is 4,200. Okay, once you have the gross requirement, the rest should be relatively easy. Recall that we'll do B first and then we'll do C. So for B, nothing is available because if you recall from the problem statement, whatever you had is either safety stock or has been allocated for some other use, and you have nothing available. So Remember, the 350 units of B came in week 2. Since you're not planning to use them, they'll be carried over, and it will become, it will be carried over and will be considered available from the past. So you needed 2,000. You have 350 units available from the past. You need 1,650 more. So the question is, how much should you plan to receive? Well, how much you plan to receive, the question mark, that depends on the lot size. And lot size for B is 350. That means you must buy multiples of 350 to reach 1,650. So all you do is you take 1,650 divided by 350. You'll get 4 point something. That means you must buy 5 boxes. So 5 times 350, or 5 lots of 350 will turn into 1,750. So 1,750 you need. So even though you need 1,650, you will have to plan to receive 1,750 and order 1,750 2 weeks in advance, and you will end up with 100 extra. Okay, so continuing forward, you got 100 extra, and for week 4 you can do the similar calculation. You needed 2,800. You have 100 carried over from the past. You need 700 more, and since they come in boxes of, or lot sizes of 350, you will have to have, I believe, 8 lots, which is 2,800, and you must order 2,800 2 weeks in advance because that's the lead time. And now that we have completed for B, let's look at C. If you look at C, if you recall, there were 300 quantities available, and since you don't plan to use it in week 1, week 2, they will be carried over until week 3, and therefore your net requirement will be 2,700. And the question for you is, what should be the planned order receipt? Again, planned order receipt depends on lot size. So if you need 2,700, how much should you plan to receive in week 3, and therefore how much should you order in week 2, because lead time is 1 week. So anyway, it's 2,700. Lead time is 1 week, and lot size is LFL. That means whatever you need, you can plan to receive. So you can plan to receive 2,700, and therefore you can plan to order 2,700 a week in advance in week 2. By the way, planned order receipt and planned order release, they will always be the same quantities, but they may be at different time periods depending on the lead time. Doing the same thing, you can carry on and see that you have no carryover from week 3 into week 4 for item C. So you will need 4,200 more, and you can plan to receive 4,200. And for that, you must order 1 week in advance, 1 week in advance of 4,200 quantities. So in this figure, in this table, all the quantities on bold, 1,000, 1,400, 1,750, 2,800, all the numbers which are showing up in bold, okay, they are the primary output of MRP. So what happens is this: in week 1, for example, computer will go down and say, we need to place an order for 1,750 of item B to respective vendor. It will place the order. In week 2, you will notice it will place an order of 2,800 Bs and 2,700 Cs to respective vendor. In week 3, it will release an order of 1,000 items, and perhaps this is an internal order. It will say, hey, start assembling 1,000 As in week 3, and it will also place an order of 4,200 Cs in week 3. By the way, to make 1,000 As, you will notice by this time enough Bs and Cs would have arrived for the folks on the shop floor to assemble 1,000 units of A. And in week 4, excuse me, you will release an order of 1,400 A's to be made, and by that time 2,800 of B and 4,200 of C should be available. So this is an example of MRP. Play it as many times as you need to. Slow it down. I'm going to convert this into a video and play the video and make sure you understand this problem. Good luck.